Number 3, where are the police? We know that Miss Bowman was arrested in this case because Mr. Longstreet's old friend was at the park looking into some financial discrepancies and just so happened to hear a scream. Now, the police officer and Mr. Longstreet, they didn't see what happened in the ticket booth, and the state chose not to call the accountant who was actually allegedly robbed. But we know the police officer went on to only ask questions about Miss Bowman. Is this because his old friend, Officer Winston Thomas, was the one who was hurt? He actually cuts off the conversation with Jack Hunter when Jack Hunter says the alleged robber in this case was having meetings with park management. He threatens the security guard, Lou Eccles, with arrest when the security guard wants to talk about Cameron Poole, the man who was seen escaping. Members of the jury, does that sound like a fair investigation to you? Is that an unbiased investigation? Why did the state refuse to call the police officer in this case to the stand? If you would want to hear what that police officer had to say, that's reasonable doubt. Because the state has failed to give you this evidence, because they failed to answer the questions and they failed to meet their burden, equal justice under the law demands that you find Miss Bowman not guilty. It might be difficult to look the prosecutors in the eye and say that in this case, they just got it wrong, that they're following in the footsteps of a biased investigation and a rushed investigation, that they have none of that financial or forensic or scientific evidence. But members of the jury, we don't come into court to do what's easy. We come here to do what's right. Too much is missing from their story. Find Miss Bowman not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lampert.
We have a momentary pause here in the action from scoring, but I think we've still rebuttal to come. Right?
A little confusing in the courtroom. I thought there would be a rebuttal coming up. I don't know if Judge Farrar forgot about that, if they're not choosing to use it. Okay, well, we've got a moment. Two excellent closing arguments. That's the Ian Lampert we were waiting to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The line of the round, perhaps the line of the weekend, defendants make plans, people make mistakes.
There was a lot of folks on Twitter saying they were liking the personal approach to personifying the defendant in this case.
Princeton's closer also did an excellent job. I've sat through the entire trial, and I literally heard nothing about the knife. I heard nothing about the bracelets. Princeton, people on Twitter wondering, what is Princeton doing? They went with a very, very minimal case theory. There was no discussion of the knife. There was no discussion of the robbery or the bracelets. An interesting, again, risky move by Princeton. They obviously had a plan of attack. They had a strategy, and they worked it. But it's close. This is a tough one to call. I think it's going to come down to, did the judges like UCLA's characters? Or did they think they were a bit too much? I think UCLA's witnesses were a little bit stronger on the whole. But in the same regard, UCLA's attorneys, in the same regard, Princeton's attorneys really kind of, pick their moments, and I think some of the judges might appreciate that. But this one's too close to call. It's tough. It was a great round, showcasing everything that AMTA has to offer and the two best teams in the country. The general consensus on Twitter seems to be that UCLA is in the lead, but that Princeton team, they haven't lost a battle this weekend.
I'd be curious to see. Let's hear your feedback on Twitter and send us your thoughts right now. Now that we're at the end of closing, and we'll announce some of them in the break before we have the deliberations finished. Curious about the strategy to not take the break after the close of the defense's case here. Do you think that Ms. Kirchner was caught off guard a bit? Was she well prepared for a close? Do we have enough of the analysis of the defense case in the closing argument?
Her demeanor suggested that she was ready for it.
Yep.
And she certainly didn't skip a beat. She did an excellent job. Let's be clear. This was a power move by Ian Lampert. For those of you watching at home, he doesn't need a break because he gets 10 minutes while she's talking. She's the one that doesn't get a break, not him. And so it's a move I've seen before. Some people cry foul. I bet the judges probably crying a little bit foul because they probably wanted a little drink, a little bathroom break.
Sure.
But they've been sitting in there for a very long time. But I don't know that it necessarily paid off for Ian Lampert. It was certainly, there's not much to say about it. It is what it is. He threw down the gauntlet. She could have easily said, no, Judge, we want a break. But, she threw it right back in his face and said, no, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. And she was ready. And there she is still at the ready, still standing. I'm not sure if she has time for rebuttal left. The timekeeper, Mr. Warahe, okay, I'm being told by our crew that she has 30 seconds for rebuttal. That's not a lot of time. I don't know what she can possibly squeeze out of that 30 seconds. It appears as though the judges may have already scored. She looks a little flustered. If I were her, I probably would have brought this to the judges' attention. So we'll see what happens from there. I see the timekeeper is holding up 30 seconds. So we may have 30 more seconds of mock trial momentarily. But all in all, a great round. A lot of character witnesses. Not a lot of. It's hard to say. There wasn't a lot of meat to this bone. There was not a lot from the state side of evidence. There wasn't a lot of proof they put on. There weren't a lot of exhibits. There were not a lot of objections. This was a very minimal final round. And I think what it'll be most remembered for are the character witnesses that were out in mass and the strong closing arguments by both sides, both Lampert and Kitchener.
They were excellent. Maybe ready to move on here?
Rebuttal, Your Honor?
And there it is.
I'm sorry. I thought I had read in the rules that there was only state and defense and no rebuttal. I'm sorry.
Just a brief rebuttal, Your Honor.
Okay, go right ahead.
Before I begin, can I inquire into how much time I have remaining? 35 seconds. Thank you.
Hurry up, my ride is arriving.
Now, Mr. Lampert just got up here and tried to tell you that there is something missing from our story. But ladies and gentlemen, there is someone missing from his. Now, he tried to suggest that just anyone can make a mistake on the Tunnel of Terror. But consider the other events surrounding the crime. Consider that Miss Bowman asked to take over the Tunnel of Terror 3 times, having never insisted on doing that before. Consider that she knew exactly what the lever did, that she'd used it before and broken park rules. Consider that the last thing she said to Mr. Isaacs was about blackout mode. Find her guilty.
Thank you, Ms. Kitchener.
What'd you think of the final 30 seconds?
I think that the judges probably already scored their ballots, and maybe a strategic error on Ms. Kitchener's part not to bring that up sooner. I don't think that they would have been moved or swayed too much by the 30-second rebuttal. You see there in the picture tabulation director Jonathan Woodward collecting the judges' ballots. Those will now be taken to a secure room outside of the courtroom here next to us, where they will be tabulated by 3 of our 4 remaining AMTA representatives here this weekend, both Mr. Woodward, Mr. Nelmark, and Mr. Warahay. We're giving away a little bit here. If you have really good eyesight, you might be able to read that judge's ballots. But they will bring them out here. They will tabulate them, and they will determine a winner. And while that's going on, the judges will give some commentary in the round. You're going to stick with us. If you're listening at home, you're going to stay with us because we don't have the judges mic'd up. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about how the round went. And there's
round of applause in the courtroom.
Round of applause.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. Duly earned.
Absolutely.
And then and we see the AMTA representatives leaving the room with the ballots. This is the big moment. This is exciting. Folks are eagerly. Anything the judges say right now is really going on deaf ears. The season is over. The case will never be argued again.
You can see the pressure escaping from the room.
Absolutely.
Like a balloon right there.
Like a balloon
Smiles,
deflating.
absolutely.
They just want to know who won the 2014 national
Who's got to
championship.
pay for the shipping to take the trophy home?
It's
right?
got to be backbreaking. It's got to be expensive.
Let me go back to a question I asked you very early on. We didn't hear a tremendous amount of information about the decedent in this case, selfishly, also named Thomas, I might add.
Correct.
Do we think the addition of the felony murder aspect of the case, did that play out in as full of effect as might have been intended when it was added to the case?
Not at all. And, I was talking about this with some folks today. It's difficult because you have sort of a faceless person who passed away. In years past, we had cases where children were killed, or young people or loved ones, and you had, it's tough to have a lot of sympathy for the decedent when the decedent's, for instance, wife or child or mother or father aren't taking the stand. The first witness cried a little bit because she saw the injury take place, but not a whole lot of humanizing of Officer Winston Thomas. The real loser here this year, Officer Winston Thomas.
So on Ian's close, a very impassioned, personal, it was a wonderful close, so I don't want to sound too nitpicky here. But I'm curious about a tactic that he utilized to essentially discuss all of the witnesses that were not brought to the stand by the prosecution. Obviously a limitation a little bit of the structure of the exercise we're doing here today. Is it a cheap tactic? Is it fair play? What was your read on that?
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
I've heard it both ways. I've heard that's a cheap tactic. I've heard it's fair game. I'm not going to comment one way or the other. I'm sure I've done it. I'm sure my teams have done it.
Yep.
But you know what? In the situation that Ian Lampert was in, somebody posted on Twitter that the Princeton's theory was essentially, trial by ambush. They cut all the meat out, so you've got nothing to cross on. Well, Ian Lampert took that and, swung it back and said, here's all the stuff they could have brought and showed you. They didn't. So it was almost sort of a reaction to their case theory when he did that. Fair or foul, it's allowed by the rules. So, it is what it is.
I have to ask you the following question. I hate doing it, but I think I'm ethically obligated to, as my role as your co-broadcaster here. Do you want to give a prediction?
It's tough. Again, I can't see into the judges' minds. If the judges liked all of the character witnesses for UCLA, I think UCLA carries the day. If they like the more minimalist approach of Princeton, I think Princeton carries the day. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that going into those closing arguments, this was maybe a
Pretty
tie.
close. Yeah.
It was maybe a tie. I really was paying attention to those closing arguments to see who carried the day. And Miss Kitchener did an excellent job, thrown up there to the wolves with no break. But, at the end of the day, Ian Lampert's closing was fantastic.
It was spectacular.
It's everything we had kind of hoped to see in this round. And at the end of the day, if UCLA does win, I wouldn't be surprised if they win some ballots on the strength of his closing argument.
A lot of smiles in the court right now, including from her defendant, which is nice to see. She has broken character at last. She did a tremendous job in a obviously an unspoken role, but really did a tremendous job.
A difficult role. She was handled by almost every person at that table. A lot of hands on her, a lot of grabby on her shoulders, and she dealt with that well. She looked solemn throughout. And she did do a good job. And so
12 folks should be very, very proud of themselves right now. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's take a quick look on Twitter and see if we got a lot of folks here throwing some names out there of who they think might have won, if they agree with you or not. Princeton had the case in chief, but UCLA takes the closings. That is Emily's thought here.
I agree.
Emma says a lot of character witnesses, not a lot of substance. Substance is the word you're looking for.
I also
we appreciate
agree.
the assist. Yeah. Erin thinks UCLA has this. Then I guess that's about it at the moment. Let's see, more coming in. A lot of folks ask for predictions here. A lot of folks, I think, scared to go out on a limb, which is a surprise from the Twitterverse. I'm not going to lie.
There were some fairly strong opinions
Wow.
there.
Twitter's blown up, too.
Yeah. While we're at it, let's take a moment after the round is over. We're going to try, if we have some time left on the air, I'm going to try to get the coaches of both teams over here to ask them a few questions after the results are announced. But while we have a moment, we would be remiss if we didn't recognize the folks who put all this together. And that starts at the top with Margarita Koblatz, the head coach, the advisor here at the University of Central Florida, who put on a wonderful national championship tournament, one that is going to be very difficult to live up to next year. And everyone at the University of Central Florida, they were a big sponsor. Stetson Law School was a sponsor, and we have a screen for them. Kaplan, whom I'm understanding employs you.
Yes, that is correct, indeed.
Was a sponsor. The folks here at WKMG who have spent the better part of the day with us. I am new to this, and they've been very generous and gracious with us, shepherding us through this process. It has been a delight to be here. And most importantly, all of you at home, when this happened, we were hoping that people were watching and that people were being involved. And the feedback on Twitter and on Facebook has been excellent. We've had a great interaction with you folks, and I'm told that the ballots are heading into the room. The ballots are heading back into the room. I don't know if that means they've been tabulated or if a score is missing, as is often the case. But we may be able to finish here shortly.
This is exciting.
It is. This is what we've.
UCLA has it on the close votes here at the end here on the Twitter.
Okay.
The Twitter. Look at that. The Twitter. I'm going to get blasted for that, I'm sure. But a couple votes for Princeton, but UCLA seems to have the edge here on the Twitter votes.
Well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, this is what everyone's been waiting for. At this point, the students are just wanting the judges not to talk. Right. They see the AMP reps come back in with the ballots. They want to know who won. There's probably a lot of nerves in there.
Have you found in the past, while we wait to see when they're ready to read, is it often the difference between the attorneys or the witnesses that skews the scorecards? Tough to say.
Witnesses.
Witnesses, really.
Because there can be such a huge disparity in witnesses. There are times when, if you have no character, no costumes, no accents, nothing, versus a team who has all that, doesn't matter how good the attorneys are. You can all be great attorneys, but the witnesses will often carry the day. And the difference between a very strong program like UCLA and teams that are not as strong is that they don't develop witnesses as much. Right. And that's not taking anything away from Princeton.
Certainly.
Princeton developed some very strong witnesses as well. In reality, about 5 of the 6 witnesses were character witnesses. So
that's great.
At any moment now, I don't want to speak over the announcement of the national championship winner, so we're going to keep an eye on the live feed here. I'm hoping that Mr. Warahay and Mr. Woodward will make sure that we're done before we cut back into them.
I think we still have a little critique going on by some of the presiding judges today.
Okay. And someone is bringing us a handheld mic so that we can perhaps do some interviewing after this if there's time, if they don't cut us off.
Nice round of applause for all the participants in the courtroom.
And one of the things I most liked about the witnesses is they didn't really get tripped up because they knew the facts. And I know how hard it is to have somebody give you a story that you didn't actually live and have you memorize it so well that you can go through direct and cross like if it really happened to you. Granted, I'm sure you've had to tell this same case 50,000 times. But that being said, you all had a command of the facts of the case, and you were able to answer the questions no matter who was posing them to you, your lawyer or the opposite side. So job well done to the witnesses. Anything else, anybody? Yes?
I just want to let you all know
I'm sorry, as a what?
A debater.
A debater.
I wound up with a scholarship to debate. All that I can tell you is that when you read my comments, some of them may be very tough, but they are in line with what I saw as a debater.
Okay, we're getting a few extraneous comments here at the end from the last judge there, but we are moments away from announcing the winner. Jay, you're new to mock trial, so to speak.
I am.
As a complete outside observer, you're an attorney.
I
so
am.
you're qualified.
I've done a little of this in my day.
Who'd you think won the round?
You know what? I'm going for Princeton here.
Okay.
I was intrigued by particularly the approach of some of the cross examinations. I'm going to the character witness deal. You know, we'll see how that all plays out. It's just a matter of personal preference, I think, at this point for me. I have not been keeping score, a running scorecard, the way that you have throughout the course of the match. Unfortunately.
I've not necessarily been keeping score, but if I did, you know, I would probably stick with my original prediction.
yep.
But again, it comes down to those character witnesses.
It is just, I mean, to be so new to this and have the pleasure of getting to sit in on the final round of the national championship.
And this is
it's
a really
quite the inauguration.
Yeah, and this is a really amazing experience for everyone at home because for years and years and years we videotape these and we put them on DVD.
Yep.
And, you know, it's one thing to call and order a copy, but to see it live online is great. And here they come.
Here we go.
Here they come.
So before we announce the results of the round, we're going to recognize for the webcast. We're going to recognize all the members of both the teams that participated in the trial. We will start with the members of the team that did not actually participate in the trial. So for our prosecution team, we have Paul Riley. Taylor Hinojosa. And Peter Angelica. Those three are individuals that competed this weekend, just not in this trial. For UCLA, for our defense team, we have Elise Soderberg. Connor Wynn. And Tiffany Fahn. Our witnesses for the state today, J.C. Longstreet was played by Shu Yang Lee. Tyler Hartman was played by Charlotte Williams. And Billy Isaacs was played by Brandon Holt. Jack Hunter was played by Tim Hoyenga. Francis Conroy was played by Callie Davidson. And Lou Eccles was played by Philip Rucci. Our attorneys for the state, our opener was Mr. Ray Chow. Our middle attorney was Anna Niermond. And the closing attorney was Caroline Kitchener. For the defense, our opener was Kyle Gomez de Camp. Middle attorney was Carolyn Paris-Bear. And the closing attorney was Ian Gabriel Lampert. All of the names that I just announced, by virtue of competing and being on a team that advanced to the national championship round, you are all All-American attorneys and witnesses. Congratulations. And now with that, I will turn it over to our tabulation director for the results.
By the way, could we know the schools? We didn't know. UCLA apparently is one.
I was just going to mention that, since apparently we haven't gotten to that. Representing the people of the state of Midlands today, Princeton University. And representing the defendant, the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. There have been 29 champions in the history of the American Mock Trial Association, and it is my great honor and privilege to crown AMTA's 30th national champion. On behalf of the American Mock Trial Association, and by a 3-2 decision of your scoring panel today, it is my great honor to present the Richard Calkins Award to AMTA's 30th national champion, the UCLA Bruins.
Well,
Wow.
you know, as we expected, a very close round.
As you predicted. Congratulations to you.
I've been doing this for a long
You have,
time.
you have.
This is my 16th year of involvement with the American Mock Trial Association, and I knew two things. I knew it was going to be very close, and I'd love to see the scores, and I knew that. I think that at the end of the day, Ian Lampert's closing sealed the deal
It was
for at least
spectacular.
a few of these judges. And maybe when they come out here, we'll get to know the differentials in the scores, how close they were. I don't know how much AMTA wants to reveal of that, which judges scored what. We're going to momentarily here, I'm hoping that the head coach of the UCLA Bruins, Gonzalo Freitas, will come out and speak with us. Obviously, he's in there and very elated at the moment, having just won his 4th national championship, which I believe ties him with Rhodes for the second most.
And Ian gets his bookend, as you talked about earlier.
Ian does get his bookend.
And well-deserved.
Well-deserved. A great story. By all accounts, a great kid. And there we see in the background Mr. Freitas congratulating his students. He's speaking with the coach of Princeton, Robert Marshall, there in the green shirt. I hope to be able to speak with both of them here shortly just to get their feedback on what they saw in the round. Judge Farrar. And there in the middle of the screen is Dr. Margarita Koblatz, the head at UCF in the tournament.
And I believe he's autographing his nameplate that he's going to present to the winning team, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things, the first thing I saw when I came in the tab room this weekend was that his plate was there, and he said, I'm going to sign that, and I'm going to hand it off to the winners. So that not only will UCLA go back to Southern California with the Calkins Trophy, but they will also go back with a signed placard from Judge Farrar.
Wonderful. A lot of folks here on the Twitter congratulating folks, of course. Wouldn't be surprised to see Princeton in a final round sometime soon. Again, I'm sure, if not at the 31st, at your tournament for sure. A couple folks, Brian says, well said, 3-2 decision, the way it should be to win a national championship. Congrats to UCLA. Good job to both teams. A very interesting round, and well done to UCLA, says Amber Verdi. Tears, laughter, hugs for everyone on the UCLA team. Lots of celebration and elation, I think, all around by all 12 contestants, not just the 6 that emerged ultimately victorious today. Lots of love being poured out on Twitter right now for our folks at UCLA.
Absolutely, and again, well-deserved. I can't overestimate the amount of time that these students put into this event year in and year out. The 9 months of work, long nights, weekends away from home. It is, for everyone who competes, it's very rewarding. So it's the end of another season. A new one will be right around the corner. You see Gonzalo there embracing his all-star closer, Ian Lampert, as well as his young witness. Again, we hope to have him out here momentarily. Actually, I see that Mr. Mike Kelly, one of the assistant coaches with UCLA, is perhaps on his way out. Maybe we can speak with him first. We haven't heard his name, but he is one of the coaches for the University of California, Los Angeles. Here comes Gonzalo Freitas.
Excellent. I'm going to take a step out for a quick
All right.
second. I'm going to give you the opportunity to interview a couple folks here. We'll line them up. We want to bring it on first?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring it on first. Ian, would you mind coming over, buddy? Yeah. Come grab a seat in this chair right here. All right. I'm going to take a step away for a second. And just put on this headphone if you don't mind. Okay. First of all, congratulations. Congratulations.
We have the star of the round in one moment. We're on camera. I'm here with the closer from the 2014 National Championship Tournament, UCLA, Ian Lampert. Ian, this is 2 for you.
This is
How does this compare to the first one?
my first year winning nationals. I barely knew what mock trial was. I'd only competed for half a semester at that point, and I was brought up by a bunch of phenomenal competitors, including one of our coaches, Brandon Hughes, who closed that final round on the defense. I didn't realize the gravity of this activity and how much everybody puts into it. I learned a lot about that in the last couple of years, so the fact that I had this opportunity is unbelievable.
Well, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that people want to hear. First of all, what's more nervous for you, sitting here right now or doing that?
It's definitely sitting here.
Good. I anticipated that. So a couple of things that happened around. I want to get your reaction. Number one, first and foremost, Princeton's case theory. They didn't talk about the knife. They didn't talk about the bracelets. How did you all respond to that?
At first, we were very nervous about that. On my direct examination of Jack Hunter, the NASCAR reporter, there's a whole series of questions we ask about the bracelets, and we try to cast doubt on that theory. We knew we couldn't do that in this round, so when I questioned him about bumping into the lever with his gut, he made that up. We made that up on the fly. We just had to react in this case, as I guess a defense should do.
Okay, and the second, Twitter's going crazy. You guys were in the round. You didn't know this. There are a shocking amount of people watching this today. You'd be surprised. And Twitter was blowing up all day. The big power play move. You said we don't need a break between closing arguments. Was that something you talked about ahead of time? Was that something you had planned? And do you think that it worked out?
It's something that we just kind of do. On the prosecution, when we rest our case in chief, we say, we're ready to go if the defense is. And it's rare that the defense is ready to go. In this case, the prosecution closer, she's just so good. I don't think it fazed her at all. I don't think it was really an advantage here. She was just as good. I mean, she could have been even more phenomenal with the break, but she was just great. So I don't think it made too much of a difference in this case.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she missed a beat. Other thoughts? Is this it? Is this the end of the road for you? Are you graduating?
This is it. This was my last round of mock trial ever.
Well, like John Elway, winning a Super Bowl and walking off into the sunset, you've won the national championship tournament. This is, you want to be playing in that very last round, and you did that. So congratulations. Congratulations to your whole team, to your coaching staff I see out here. They're going to miss you. What are the plans for the future, Ian?
I want to teach. I was recently hired by a charter back in Van Nuys, California, where I'm from, and I get to teach speech and debate, which is my background. Never did high school mock trial, just speech and debate.
You're not bad at it. You're not bad. You've got a thing. You've got a thing for it.
Yeah, just speech and U.S. history. So that's what's in the future.
All right. Well, Ian, it was great. It was great watching you. Excellent round. Congratulations on your national championship tournament. We're going to bring in your opposing counsel here and ask her a few questions as well.
Sure thing.
Thanks, Ian. Will do. We have approaching now the live feed. We were just speaking with Mr. Lampert. Now, we've got different spellings of your name on the roster and on the live feed. What is your last name?
Kitchen with an ear on the end.
Kitchener.
Yes.
Kitchener. All right, Miss Kitchener, have a seat.
Nice to meet you.
Joshua Leckrone, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, wow. When you arrived in Orlando on Thursday or Friday, did you have any idea that you would be participating, you'd be closing against Ian Lampert in the national championship round?
No. Princeton has had. Oh, I'm on camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're live on camera. We're on the internet.
Okay. Wow. Well, hello everyone. Princeton has had kind of a. We call it our underdog story, because my team that I was on, we didn't even make it out of regionals. The other team the other team from our school qualified, and most of the competitors on this team did not qualify from regionals.
And my understanding is the person in charge of finding sites, you all almost didn't even compete at regionals this year. Is that correct? There were some weather issues. You guys couldn't get to regional?
Yeah, we did. There was a snowstorm, so we couldn't get to our original regional. They were very gracious and allowed us to go to Delaware instead.
Excellent.
But yes, it really didn't look like, we weren't on any of the rankings on perjuries. I don't know if you know about perjuries.
I don't. I know about it. I don't care about it. But
yes, according to the people on perjuries, we didn't have a shot. So.
Well, I can't remember a time, Carolyn, when a team didn't lose a single ballot in a 3-judge panel tournament. I mean, you all didn't lose a single ballot. You tied a ballot.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And, obviously you came up a little bit short in this round. It was very close, the 3-2, But that accomplishment in itself is amazing. You all walk out of here with the runner-up trophy, and you walk out of here with both an All-American Attorney Award and an All-American Witness Award.
Yes.
I mean, you're a big name in mock trial now.
Wow.
What year are you? What year are you?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior. Is this it for you?
Is this it for me? I mean, am I going to law school?
What are the plans from here?
Well, I'm planning on, I'm going to be kind of a Jackie Hunter journalist for the next probably year or two, and then I'm going to focus on my writing, and then I'm going to try and go to law school.
Interesting. So neither you nor Mr. Lampert are headed straight to law school,
No.
and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But both of you finishing in the top round in the country this year, you can't complain about that.
No, it's very exciting.
You were wonderful in there. When you get home tonight, you'll have to look on Twitter. You're sort of a thing on Twitter right now.
Wow.
For
Okay.
good or for better or for worse, you're sort of a thing on Twitter right now. Let me ask you 2 questions that I just asked Ian. Number one, were you thrown off by the fact that he said let's skip the break between closings? Because that meant you had to immediately start giving your closing. Did that throw you off?
Well, I definitely wasn't expecting it. We always have a 5 to 10 minute break between the end of the defense case in chief and the closings. But I don't know. I've done that closing so many times, and I feel very comfortable with it. So I was ready.
Okay.
And,
The other thing was there were a lot of people on Twitter, myself included, were very surprised by the very minimalist case theory you all had on the prosecution side. You didn't talk about the knife. You didn't talk about the bracelet. What was the thought there? What was the strategy there to kind of take away what the defense could really cross-examine on?
Well, we kind of looked at our case, and we looked at the case, and we saw a lot of very distracting elements to it. It's just so much when you're talking about a wristband scheme, you're talking about a robbery, you're talking about a murder. There's just so much, and in a case in chief, there's only so much that you can do. In a closing, there's only so much that you can do. So we wanted to take away a lot of the things that we saw as distractions to the main points that we wanted to make. And that's what we did in our prosecution case in chief for nationals.
My sources tell me, I was not there, I was here with the final round judges, but my sources tell me that you all won the coin flip.
Yes.
And you chose to go prosecution. You chose that. Well, what was the thought behind that? Was there a specific strategy?
Well, we'd had some scouts, and we'd seen UCLA's D, so we thought that that might give us a little bit of an edge.
You thought you had a better opportunity against their defense than their
Well, we
city.
hadn't seen their other side.
I gotcha. Fair. Well, the world is watching. Anything else you want to say? I'm not going to keep you here. Your
Thank
teammates
you.
are out here. Your coaches are out here.
Thank you so much for watching and being interested in mock trial. This has been a lot of fun for me.
Thank you very much for competing and for a wonderful final round. Your closing argument is incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We now have with us the coach of Princeton University, Robert Marshall. Mr. Marshall, excellent to meet you.
Thank you.
How proud of you of your kids?
Oh, incredibly. I mean, I just graduated last year, so I was on a team with a lot of these guys for the last 4 years, before this year, obviously, and it's just amazing to see how well that they've done
Now,
this
are
year.
you the extent of their coaching?
Yes, we've actually historically been an uncoached program, so we took on a coach early this semester who was just a trial attorney who wasn't particularly good, and were in really dire straits at the beginning of the season, and everybody's trying to distract me now, but They took me on in January, so I've been really enjoying it since then.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what I just told Caroline, which is an amazing, amazing accomplishment by your team in that you all didn't lose a single ballot in a 12-ballot tournament. That's unheard of, especially at this level. And I know not winning the final round isn't the ending that you wanted, but what an amazing, incredible accomplishment you all have had. Has that really sank in how well you all did this weekend?
So I've sort of always described the philosophy that a lot of what happens in mock trial comes down to luck. So while I definitely think that, the team is excellent and we put an enormous amount of work into it and there's, some skill in the group of them, there's a lot of luck involved in picking up as many ballots as we did. That being said, obviously ecstatic, very, very proud of them, and I absolutely knew they had it in them to do this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, we knew it was going to be close. It was close. The folks on Twitter, the Twitter was going crazy. We had a ton of viewers here. You might not know this, but there were a lot of people watching, a lot of people talking about it. There were a lot of people that thought you won the round. There were votes both ways. It was extremely close. I'd be interested to see the differentials. Have you seen the differentials on the ballots?
I've seen the differentials. There are a few of them that are narrow. We picked up one +1, I think, and then the other one was also a narrow margin. The ones that we lost were narrow as well, with one exception, which was double digits. So.
Okay. Well, listen, once again, congratulations. Good luck next year. You guys are a big name now. As I said in the beginning, 67th ranked BBR. According to AMTA's rubric, you're the 67th best team in the country, but here you are, one ballot away from winning the national championship tournament, and we expect great things from Princeton in the future. So thanks for coming by, Robert.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, too.
The parade of characters continues. I'm now being joined by the one and only Jonathan Woodward, tabulation director, the man who just announced that UCLA had in fact won its 4th national championship tournament. What was the excitement level in that room?
It was exactly what you should expect from a national championship tournament. What I expected was what actually happened when I announced that it was a 3-2 result, is that everyone got real nervous. I think anytime you let folks know that it's something like a 4-1 or a 5-0 decision, people maybe have a better idea of what actually happened. Here, when it was a 3-2 decision, I think folks started to wonder whether the round went maybe the way that they saw the round going. So, but great for UCLA, great group of folks, and Princeton put on a great trial too.
Absolutely.
It was really a great showing from both of them and a testament to the quality of all of our competitors.
Absolutely. And is it safe to say, I was just asking Princeton's coach what the differentials were, is it safe to say that a few points could have swung the national championship to New Jersey?
Absolutely. A couple of one of the ballots was +2 for UCLA. Another one of the ballots was +4 for UCLA. On the flip side, one of the ballots was only +1 for Princeton. So I think anytime you get to this level of the competition, you see that the margin of error is very, very small, and even very slight differences can result in a swing of a ballot.
All right. Now, as an outside observer, I'm going to ask you one more question. Jay and I were out here talking, and Jay says to me, would it be odd or typical for a student to ask to have the court reporter read something back? And I said, I don't know. It's never happened.
Sure.
We've never had a court reporter. And I said, how amazing would it be if somebody did that? And this gentleman standing right behind the court reporter,
Mr. DeCamp.
Yep,
first one to try it out.
It did not go great.
No.
Judge Farrar had better luck with it.
That's true.
It felt from outside the room watching, it was a little awkward. Was it unusual in there?
It was, only because it seemed like our friends from Phipps Reporting, who did a great job,
Sure.
Maybe weren't prepared for that, weren't expecting to actually be used the way that a real-life court reporter might be expected to be used. But I think the important thing was that Mr. DeCamp handled it very, very well. I think most of the awkwardness was not so much on his part. He rebounded very quickly, did what he needed to do, and I don't think that was a negative factor in the scores that the judges gave him. They saw that he was doing what an actual trial attorney would do, and scored him accordingly.
Okay. I'm told that we have a few more people that we need to speak with.
Folks don't really want to hear from me anyway. I mean, let's just be honest.
They're all waiting for Will Warahay.
That's who everyone wants to hear from in AMTA. I know it.
All right, we're going to bring on Jonathan. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Excellent job.
Great job with you today also. Everyone's talking about the great job you've done.
I appreciate it. We're going to bring on really the star of my commentary, Mr. Kyle DeCamp. No one really, he can't hear me until he puts his microphone on. Mr. DeCamp.
Hi.
Joshua Leckrone.
Good to meet you, Joshua.
You're sort of probably the most talked about person in the round today for a number of reasons. First of all, I commented very perhaps unfairly on your shirt and tie. I didn't think it matched, but now that I see it up close, it's a little better.
The gray, the red, the white?
I still don't love it, but it's a little bit better. But an incredible opening statement, excellent work out there. What everyone wants to know on Twitter is, why ask the court reporter to read it back?
I thought it would be really effective to have Lou Eccles be able to hear what Tyler Hartman said and be able to completely corroborate it. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I told Miss Bowman to let everyone know. So that way it would seem less unnatural for Miss Hartman to have heard that. And I thought if I could get the actual quote, it would be the most effective.
Right. As you're standing there and the seconds start ticking away, doesn't it feel like it's taking minutes and hours? It felt out here like it was a very long pause. Kind of like, why aren't we just kind of moving along?
Right.
Did it feel like that in the courtroom? Were you starting to get nervous?
A little bit. I always knew that I had the fallback if it didn't work out. But I definitely felt a little bit of nerves. It took maybe about a minute out of the time, I think, just standing there. And I felt most bad about the fact that the court reporters didn't know what to do with the situation.
Well, they weren't. It's in real life, you would go back to the specific date and time, that kind of thing. But yeah, they probably were not anticipating that. It's never really happened in mock trial before. But again, though, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
A sophomore, so you've got some time ahead of you.
Plenty of time, yeah.
And by my notes, you won an All-American Attorney Award.
I did, thankfully.
Now, in the ride home, how much will you make fun of Ian Lampert that you won one and he didn't?
I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that?
Ian's been an amazing co-captain and co-counsel all year, and I can't think of anyone who deserves it more than he does.
That's the nicest thing I've ever heard anyone say.
I try.
We have one more person that's going to come up and speak with us. Congratulations on winning the 2014 National Championship
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have one more interviewee. He doesn't know it yet until he puts on his headphones. We are joined, we're going to try to get the camera on. We are joined by one of the 5 final round judges, Judge Jose Rodriguez. Judge Rodriguez, let me ask you this first. Have you ever judged an American Mock Trial Association round before?
No, this is my first time, but it will not be my last time.
And that's what we love to hear at AMTA. What are your just initial thoughts having seen this, knowing that these are college students? These are barely out of high school, some of them.
Phenomenal. They're ready. They're not only ready for law school, but when they come out, I mean, if we did not know that they were college students, you would say they're prepared. They're prepared. It's just a matter of someone signing them up, working for a law firm. They are that good.
Yeah. Now, you're a circuit judge here in Florida. Where do these students, with their delivery, their skills, their objection abilities, their knowledge of the rules of evidence, are these students, better than some of the attorneys you see on a regular basis in your own courtroom?
Yes, absolutely.
I had to ask that.
You notice how quickly?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a great bunch. This is a phenomenal bunch.
Excellent.
I know I said that before, phenomenal, but I'll say it again. Incredible. I mean, I wish they would come to law school in Florida. I'd like to invite them to come to law school in Florida.
Both of the teams are from very far away from Florida, but they may end up here.
I told them that they could come. If they come to one of the 2 law schools here in Orlando, they could wind up going over to Cocoa Beach and surfing on the weekends between writing their briefs and studying.
Or working for Judge Jose Rodriguez.
They could wind up absolutely being an extern, no problem.
Judge, let me ask you this. This is a little different from real life. Obviously, what got put on out there was a bit of a legal play. What did you think about all the character witnesses? You don't see that normally. There were so many.
Are you sure?
Well, maybe you do. Maybe I misspeak.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way. we are the home of Disney World, which as a park and as an attraction is full of characters. But I guarantee that anytime that you come into court, you could see a character or two of our own, a real life character. Life is funny that way.
Excellent. Judge, anything else you'd like to say? Believe it or not, there's actually a startling amount of people watching and tweeting at us on the Twitter. Anything else? Any final thoughts? I think you're the last person I'm allowed to interview. They're going to cut my mic off here soon. Final thoughts on what you saw today?
Well, I will tell you that based on having been involved in watching the caliber of these students, I am going to be, let me begin by saying that as a UCF graduate and a UCF Knight undergraduate, I am going to be more involved in preparing these students. I started out in high school. I was a debater, pretty successful in high school, and what I saw the same skills of being able to stand on your feet, cross-examine, do direct examination, and what I really found phenomenal in the team that actually won, that they were able to weave from the beginning, from the opening statement all the way to the closing statement. They were able to weave that one thought, that one theory of the case, that you have to be a real pro as a lawyer to do that and to be so consistent throughout the entire case. That's something that hopefully I can assist with the undergraduates at our own hometown school.
Great.
Charge on Knights.
Well, thank you, Judge Rodriguez. It's been a pleasure. We're going to bring in, thank you for judging.
My pleasure. Completely. I mean it.
Hopefully we'll have you judging again in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Count on it.
Thanks, Judge. We're going to bring Jay back in here and wrap things up momentarily. We see on the Twitter feed the Jackie Hunter is carrying the Calkins Trophy throughout the courtroom.
Josh, my man, you got a career in broadcasting, my friend.
I'm
You did a
hoping
great
so.
job.
I'm going to quit my
First
day
time out
job.
of the box. You kidding me? You had fun too, didn't you?
We had a lot of fun.
You can tell. This is a blast, isn't it? It is a good time.
This has been a tremendous experience, and I just hope that for all the kids at home, the parents, the grandparents, the sisters and brothers that don't get out to see their loved ones and friends do mock trial on a regular basis, that they were able to watch this, that they enjoyed it. It was an excellent round, that our commentary added and didn't necessarily detract from it, and that they learned about what mock trial is, that their loved ones and friends put so much time and effort.
It was a tremendous experience. Of course, the road ends here now in Orlando, but we are only about 365 days away from your show in Cincinnati. Anything we look forward to?
A lot to look forward to. We're in the planning stage still, but I'm very excited. I can reveal to people that want to know that the opening and closing ceremonies will actually take place in Paul Brown Stadium, the home of the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm very excited about that. We've got some other things in store. We won't have Disney World, but we'll have some other things up our sleeve, and I'm excited. It's a lot of work, but this is about my 16th year in being involved with Ampton. I can't think of another thing that I've been excited to be a part of other than hosting the 2015 National Championship Tournament at the University of Cincinnati.
Well, I hope before that you guys have the opportunity to relish and enjoy what was a very successful 2014 tournament and toast it right and celebrate it, because it was a tremendous experience to be a part of, and I appreciate you inviting me to join you for the tournament this year.
You as well,
It was
Jay,
great.
and I'm told we're going to thank our sponsors one
Wonderful.
more time. Stetson Law, the folks here at the University of Central Florida, Kaplan, and of course, last but certainly not least, the incredible, wonderful job put on by Margarita Koblatz and all of her mockers here at the University of Central Florida. And with that,
I think that's a wrap. We'll be the Masters next year. But until then, thanks guys for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Have a wonderful night.